the gnawing in your gut, the sleepless nights. I think there's something in your past that we have to deal with. I know you don't want to go there, but it might help.
Mr. Speaker, I stand before you today to offer an apology to former students of Indian residential schools.
This was a start, a measure of atonement.
Is a sad chapter in our history.
I was watching it at the White Buffalo Youth Lodge in Saskatoon. Stephen Harper comes on, pin drop. Stands up, next thing you hear, sniffles, people crying, people leaving because they can't handle it, because of the impact on their families.
I don't buy this that we're the whipping boy all the time. We're not the ones that are at fault here for all of the alleged mistreatment and misunderstanding of First Nations.
I wouldn't say alleged. I would say mistreatment and misunderstanding.
Okay.
And the impact of the Indian residential schools to this day is still in there, right?
We've got to come out of it, and we've got to go forward for the better, the common good.
Hear ya.
We can't be dragging everything behind us all the time.
Gotcha.
I don't think it would be very right to tell a Jewish person to get over it. You know, Holocaust, get over it, move on. Time to move on, people. You know, you can move on, but it's still part of you. Yeah, it's I'm sorry, it's not going to be done with until we can start again, and until it's fixed. That's why I'm not going to get over it, because it's not fixed yet.
What we're going to do today is that we're going to talk about residential school, and we've done
a high school class in Port Perry, Ontario gets the straight goods from history teacher Nancy Hammer-Straw.
Anywhere between 35 and 60.
I think of anything that I teach, any topic that I've ever taught, this one is the most emotionally packed. This is the one that you'll get tears.
It can be a jolt to learn that your government once abducted children from their parents and forced them into special schools. That the official policy was to kill the Indian in the child. That they were shorn of their culture, language, and identity.
Students will go home and tell their parents about this because they didn't know. And their parents probably didn't know.
Didn't know that children their age and much younger were subject to terrible abuse. Were left hungry and alone. This went on from 1870 for over 100 years, for 7 generations.
It was happening while I was growing up. I had no idea. And when you poll a class and ask them how many people knew about this, you get 2 hands up.
I'm kind of embarrassed to say that it was, in fact, in this class that I first heard of it.
Well, for me, it was last year when we started talking about Natives, and then Ms. Hammer-Straw introduced us to the residential schools.
You hear about things all over the world that are horrible, but it was so close to us.
It's weird how we've never heard of it before, even though I've taken Canadian history before.
What we're going to do today is I'm going to give you all a set of tiles for the whole class to complete. And remember while you're doing this that these are for children. These are a gift that you're giving the children. Is everybody good with that?
In this class, education is mixed with reconciliation. The students are completing a module called Project of Heart. It involves painting tiles in commemoration of children who died in residential schools, died in the wilderness trying to get home, died of abuse, died of hunger and disease.
The schools were not given the resources to fully implement, better health care for these children. And not only that, they weren't giving them high quality food. So they were starving and they died. It's one of these dark secrets in Canadian history.
That dark secret is now being investigated. Hard to imagine we're in Canada and investigators are searching for the graves of children who never came home.
I don't think we have a sense of how many children went missing, but we do have a sense that it was an unconscionable number. It looks as if most of them are late 30s, early 40s.
these kind of...
Alex Moss and Eldon Yellowhorn are archaeologists. They're inspecting the residential school cemetery in Mission, BC.
We've noticed that this is one of the more unusual headstones.
It says children.
Yeah. Alex has been hired by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Part of its mandate is to unearth what happened to the missing children.
It's very unusual to have the marbles. I wonder if those marbles belong to the child.
Or to their friends, yeah.
Many lie in unmarked graves in unknown fields.
I imagine that there are a number of children buried here that we don't know about.
A haunting presence is all that remains of the school.
So how old were you when you first came to the school?
I was 7 years old.
7 years old?
Yeah. I think that part was where the shower was.
According to Dolores Adolph, the policy to kill the Indian in the child too often just killed the child.
When we used to get up at night, you know, looking for which way home was, there was 4 people walking this way with a little casket, and they were bringing it into the graveyard because they didn't want anybody to know what was going on. Because there's a lot of babies in here.
Back in Port Perry, the students are finishing their tiles. It's hoped that these and batches from other schools will be put on display by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. The project was devised by another teacher, and the number of tiles she gives to each school is deeply symbolic and reflects what we know so far about the number of deaths.
She wanted each school to take ownership of half the population of the school that you're in. So we have 1,200 students here, and so we got 600 tiles. To have a physical representation of the fact that half the students in a residential school would not have made it out of that residential school. So they could actually see, well, if this were my school, half of these people wouldn't be here. So it's pretty powerful. Students need to know about the fact that there are still things that this country needs to work on, that they have a role to play to make things better, and that it's not already done.
We all have to acknowledge our history, right? And I don't go out and say this is your fault. This is none of our faults, right? This is what we inherit.
But back in Saskatoon at our therapy session, has anything changed for steelworker Rob Pilon or farmer Robert Gordon?
I'd say that my views and opinions have completely changed.
There was things there I didn't know. I've done quite a bit of research on this type of thing, and there was things there I didn't know about.
We need, as society, to have more programs like this incorporated into our everyday living, as far as maybe in our schools.
Okay, guys, so now what we have to do, we need to put them and pack them in the boxes. We have to send them. Here we go. It's a pretty one. I like
in terms of this idea of guilt, we should know our history. And our history isn't very pretty here. But I can't answer for what happened 50 years ago. But if my grandchildren ask me what I did in my life in terms of this issue, and there hasn't been an improvement, then I certainly should feel guilt. And I don't want to, and I don't think any Canadian wants to.